You think goosebumps are a feeling. Fear, awe, stress, embarrassment. Fine. But why does your skin react before you decide what you feel? Why does your body move first and your mind arrive second? And what's actually happening in the gap between emotion and goosebumps? Most people don't ask. They say adrenaline, they say fight or flight, they say stress response, they repeat words, but that's not an answer because goosebumps aren't a mood. They're not a thought, they're not even an emotion. Goosebumps are a physical output, a mechanical decision your body makes without asking you. And once you see what that decision really is, once you trace the chain from trigger to skin, it changes what emotion even means. Let me show you. Start with something simple, something you felt 100 times. You're listening to music, nothing dramatic, just a voice, a chord change, a line that lands in exactly the right way. And suddenly, your arms erupt. Hair stands up, skin tightens, a wave runs down your back. Not because it's cold, not because something touched you, not because you chose it, just information, a sound pattern in the air. And your body reacts like it got hit. Stop and think about that. Your skin didn't wait for your opinion. It didn't ask for permission. It didn't request the label. It moved. So here's the question. What's between emotion and goosebumps? Not a vibe, not a meaning, a sequence, a chain, a circuit. And the strangest part is your body runs that sequence before you're aware it started. Okay, step one. What is a goosebump? Physically, not poetically, not emotionally, mechanically. You have hair follicles across your skin, even on places that look hairless, and attached to each follicle is a tiny muscle, a microscopic motor. It has one job, contract. When that muscle contracts, it pulls the hair upright, and it puckers the surrounding skin. That puckering is the bump. That's it. Goosebumps are not a sensation. They're a muscle movement, a mechanical output. So the first reframe is simple. You don't feel goosebumps. You watch your body generate them. And because they're a muscle movement, the next question is obvious. Who pulls the trigger? Because you don't consciously decide, now I will contract 10,000 tiny muscles across my arms. That's not a thought you can even have. It just happens. And here's what matters. That muscle doesn't receive instructions from the part of you that thinks in sentences. It receives instructions from a wire, a sympathetic nerve fiber that runs from your spinal cord into the skin. That's the actual architecture. A change is detected up top, and the command routes downward through the spinal cord into the sympathetic chain and out into the body. And when the signal reaches the skin, it doesn't ask the muscle to move, it chemically forces it. The nerve releases a chemical messenger, norepinephrine. That chemical binds onto receptors on the erector pili muscle, and the muscle contracts, hair rises, skin puckers. That's goosebumps, not a feeling, not a metaphor. A literal motor command delivered through wiring and chemistry. So already the story changes because the emotion part of the story is optional. The machinery is not. Now, what system in your body can move muscles without asking your conscious mind? Not the part of you that writes emails, not the part of you that chooses words, a deeper part, the part that runs automatically, the part that doesn't wait, the part that acts first and explains later. That part is your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic is a boring word, but what it means is almost unsettling. It means self-running. It's the machinery in you that adjusts you constantly without your awareness. Your heart rate, your breathing pattern, your sweating, your digestion, the diameter of your pupils, the blood flow in your skin, the temperature of your hands, and yes, goosebumps. This is the body's background operating system. You don't control it directly, you live inside it. So when goosebumps happen, the story isn't, I felt something, and then my skin reacted. The story is your autonomic system fired a program and your mind arrived afterward to interpret it. That's the pattern. And it's not just goosebumps. This is the skeleton key for a huge part of emotional life. You don't feel first. Your body reacts first. Awareness comes last. Now here's the key. The autonomic system isn't one thing, it has modes, two major ones. One mode builds and maintains. It supports digestion, rest, repair, recovery. The other mode mobilizes. It makes you ready, ready for action, ready for threat, ready for intensity, ready for change. That mobilizing mode is the sympathetic system. This is the one people summarize as fight or flight. But that phrase is too small for what it actually does. The sympathetic system is not just about fighting, not just about running. It's about reallocating resources. It takes energy away from long-term projects and throws it into immediate performance. It tunes you for now. Heart rate rises, breathing becomes sharper, blood flow shifts, muscle tone increases, attention narrows, and sometimes skin changes. Hair stands up, goosebumps appear. So if goosebumps are a sympathetic output, we've already learned something important. Goosebumps are not a soft emotional garnish. They're part of a mobilization package, which means your body treats whatever triggered them as significant. But wait, this is where it gets weird. Because goosebumps don't help you run, they don't give you strength, they don't sharpen vision. They don't add oxygen to your muscles. So why are they even in the package? Why is your body wasting time contracting tiny skin muscles in a moment of intensity? That makes no sense. Unless goosebumps are not designed for the world you live in, unless they're a leftover output from an older body problem. And they are. On an animal covered in fur, goosebumps do two things. First, insulation. Hair stands up, traps air, holds heat. Second, display. Hair stands up, the animal looks larger. Bigger silhouette, more presence, it's a signal. And your body still runs that program even if you don't have enough fur left for it to matter. That's the reframe. Your goosebumps are the ghost of a body that used to be covered in fur, ancient hardware, modern context, and now you can see something most people miss. Goosebumps have two separate entrances. One entrance is cold, pure temperature. Your skin sensors detect cooling and the autonomic system starts conserving heat, tighten the surface, reduce blood flow, raise hairs, trap air. That makes sense, that's physics. But the other entrance is meaning, and that one is stranger. Because the music didn't change your temperature, no cold wind hit you, nothing touched your skin, a pattern entered through your ears, and somehow the same autonomic machinery fired. Same erector pili muscles, same chemical command, same skin movement. Which means goosebumps aren't a cold reaction, cold is just one way to trigger them. Goosebumps are a state marker, a flag that says, the organism has shifted modes, and that's why they show up in fear and beauty. Fear and beauty aren't the same emotion, but they can demand the same body configuration because both can require the same thing, a fast increase in sensitivity. The body doesn't ask, is this pleasant? It asks something more primitive. Do I need to become more awake right now? Cold says yes. Threat says yes, meaning sometimes says yes too, and goosebumps are what that yes looks like on the surface of your skin. And that yes doesn't just appear as bumps. Goosebumps are usually bundled with a whole skin state shift because the sympathetic system doesn't change one thing at a time, it changes sets. If the body is trying to conserve heat, it doesn't only raise hair, it also reduces blood flow near the surface. That's why cold can make your hands feel different, why your skin can feel tighter, why the surface can feel less warm. The body is pulling resources inward, protecting the core, and if the trigger is salience, not cold, the skin can still shift. Not because it's trying to warm you up, but because it's flipping you into a higher readiness state. The surface of the body is one of the easiest places to change output fast. You can alter blood flow quickly. You can alter sweating quickly. You can alter muscle tone quickly. And goosebumps are part of that same surface package. They're not the goal, they're the leak. The visible side effect of the system switching modes, which means goosebumps are not the emotion, they're the indicator that your body has already committed to a configuration and your mind is about to explain it. Now you might think, okay, so goosebumps are fear, threat response, animal reflex, end of story. But wait, that's not what you've experienced, because goosebumps don't only happen during fear, they happen during beauty, they happen during music, during meaning, during awe, during moments that aren't danger at all. So why would your body run a threat-style output in response to a song? Why does a chord change make your skin respond? Like something lunged at you? That's the real question. And the answer is not emotion, it's something deeper, something your nervous system does before emotion even exists. The real trigger is salience. Salience means importance, not good, not bad, just this matters. It's the tag your brain and body assign to certain patterns. A sudden sound in the dark, a face that looks wrong, a movement you weren't expecting, but also a moment of overwhelming meaning, a massive idea clicking into place, a voice that hits a deep social signal, a harmony that resolves in a way your brain treats as significant. Different situations, same tag, pay attention. This is bigger than your current model, this is not background. And when your nervous system detects salience, it doesn't wait for a philosophical interpretation, it fires the body. Because attention is not just a thought, attention is a body state. Your posture changes, your breathing shifts, your muscle tone adjusts, your skin responds. Goosebumps are one of the visible outputs of that shift. They are a bodily signature of something important just happened. Now here's where it gets even more precise. Music is a perfect salience machine because it's built on prediction. Your auditory system is constantly guessing what comes next. Not consciously, automatically. Rhythm sets expectations. Tempo sets momentum. Harmony sets a path. Even a simple melody implies a destination. Your brain starts predicting the next note, the next chord, the next landing, and when the pattern does something slightly unexpected, a suspension that shouldn't be there, a delayed resolution, a sudden drop in intensity, a voice entering at exactly the wrong moment, a harmony that turns left instead of right, your prediction error spikes. And that spike is not a thought, it's a signal, a system alarm that says the model needs updating. Something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. Now here's the strange part. In the body, update the model often looks the same as prepare for impact, because both require the same thing: attention, high gain, high sensitivity, high readiness. So the nervous system does what it always does when salience increases. It shifts state, breathing changes, muscle tone adjusts, skin responds. That's why goosebumps feel like a wave. And when you say a wave, you're describing something real, not a mystical force, not energy, a sequence moving through the body. Because autonomic output doesn't flip everywhere at once, it propagates through networks. Skin is a giant sensory surface. It's loaded with nerves measuring tension, temperature, pressure, movement. So when those tiny muscles contract and blood flow shifts and sweating changes microscopically, your sensory system detects the internal change. And it doesn't feel like I moved a muscle, it feels like the whole organism changed state. That's the signature of autonomic control. It's not a local event, it's a mode change. You don't experience it as one bump, you experience it as a body transition. That's why it can feel like it runs down your arms, down your neck, across your back. Not because goosebumps travel like liquid, but because the shift in output is being detected across a wide surface at once. The mind doesn't have a word for sympathetic configuration change. So it reports it as a wave, a rush, a surge. And then it does what it always does. It grabs a label that matches the context: awe, fear, meaning. But the body state came first. The wave is the event, the word is the story. The wave isn't magic, it's the body flipping into a higher gain configuration. More sensitivity, more readiness, more signal. Beauty can do that, fear can do that, meaning can do that, not because they're the same emotion, but because they demand the same nervous system configuration. But wait, why would the nervous system treat abstract meaning like impact? Why would a harmony turning left recruit the same machinery as a threat in the dark? Because your nervous system isn't built for music, it's built for signals. Signals from the environment and signals from other humans. A tone of voice can mean safety, or exile, or danger, or status. A silence can mean something changed. A pause can mean someone is about to act. And your body cannot afford to sit still while your conscious mind debates it. So it uses a fast system that does one job: detect significance early and shift the organism's state. That's why goosebumps can happen when someone sings, because the input doesn't have to be physical, it just has to be high-stakes information. Your nervous system treats certain patterns as socially real, not metaphorically real, mechanically real, because for a social animal, information is survival, being accepted, being rejected, being seen, being ignored. Those things change what happens to the body next. So the body learned a rule: when the signal is big enough, flip into high gain mode, more attention, more readiness, more sensitivity. And you experience that flip as chills, as goosebumps, as a wave, not because the feeling created the body reaction, but because the body reaction created the feeling. So now we can finally answer the title. What's between emotion and goosebumps? Here it is: detection, routing, autonomic firing, chemical release, muscle contraction, skin change, and then your mind arrives and calls it emotion. That's the order. Your body doesn't respond to feelings, feelings respond to your body. Now, let's make this concrete, because this is where people resist. They want to believe the mind leads. They want the story to be, I perceived something, I felt something, then my body reacted. That story feels dignified. It feels like you're in charge. But the reality is more mechanical. The body moves first, and we know it moves first because we can measure it, not with philosophy, with timing. Here's a quantitative anchor, not poetic, mechanical. Some reflexes fire in tens of milliseconds, around 30 to 50. That's faster than thought, faster than language, faster than any sentence you could form in your head. And even slower autonomic markers, like changes in sweating, show up with a delay of about 1 to 3 seconds after a stimulus. So the body can be shifting state while your mind is still assembling a story. Meaning, by the time you feel an emotion, you're often reading out a body state that already began. You don't authorize the reaction, you become aware of it. Now, here's another way to see it. A sudden, loud sound. Before you even know what it was, your body jumps. That jump isn't a decision. Shoulders rise, muscles tighten, breath stops or spikes, and only afterward does the mind narrate, what was that? Was it dangerous? Was it nothing? Conscious awareness is slow, not useless, just slow. It has to build an interpretation. But the nervous system can't wait for interpretation. If it's real danger, waiting is failure. So it runs a program first, fast. Then consciousness catches up. And once you accept that, the logic becomes unavoidable. Emotion can't be the cause, not in the way you think, because the body is already moving. So emotion must be something else, a label, a report, a story your brain writes about the body state already underway. That's the structural reframe. Emotion isn't something you feel, it's something your body does. Now, you might be thinking, okay, fine, but this still sounds abstract. So let's go to proof, not vibes, not metaphors, proof, the kind that shows up in the real world and in labs. Because there's a reason labs don't measure emotion, they measure outputs. They measure what the body actually does. And one of the simplest outputs is something you've never thought about, but your body uses constantly. Sweat, not the dripping kind, not the gym kind, the microscopic kind. Your sweat glands are controlled by the sympathetic system, and when sympathetic arousal rises, the electrical properties of your skin change. That's measurable. In labs, they call it skin conductance, electrodermal activity. It's basically a dial that tells you how active is the sympathetic system right now. And here's what matters. Chills and goosebumps often come with the same signature, a sympathetic spike you can record. Not because the song is objectively powerful, not because the moment is universally meaningful, but because your body entered a high salient state. The machinery shifted modes, and your conscious mind read the mode switch after the fact. That's the point. The body is not waiting for a feeling, the body is switching configurations. And you're naming the configuration later. Cold triggers goosebumps. That makes sense. Cold detection activates heat conservation outputs, but music can trigger them too. Meaning can trigger them. A voice can trigger them. A sudden pattern can trigger them. Different inputs, same output. That tells you something crucial. The output is not uniquely tied to temperature. The output is tied to a broader state change, arousal, salience, readiness. The goosebumps are the same movement because the system output is the same category. Sympathetic activation, different doors into the same room. Third proof, the startle reflex, a sudden sound, a sudden movement in your peripheral vision. Your body reacts before analysis. That reflex exists because the system has a priority. Respond fast, then interpret. This is why you can flinch at something harmless. Your body would rather flinch at nothing than not flinch at something real. So the reaction is designed to fire first, and goosebumps are often bundled into that same category of rapid, involuntary output. They are not selected by thought, they appear as part of an autonomic package. Fourth proof, real-world consequence. Sometimes the sympathetic system doesn't push you into motion, it locks you. Freezing, not a choice, not a decision, a mechanical strategy. Because for some organisms, in some situations, stillness is safer than movement. So sympathetic activation doesn't mean one behavior. It means a state shift, a set of output changes optimized for survival, and in that state shift, you might get a held breath, a rigid posture, a cold flush, and sometimes goosebumps. Same system, different output configuration. So now we can say something that sounds strange, but is mechanically true. What you call emotion is not one thing, it's a bundle, a specific combination of outputs: heart rhythm, breathing pattern, muscle tension, skin blood flow, sweat output, eye focus. Different bundles feel like different emotions, like different chords made from the same notes. Think about what that bundle actually contains. It's not poetic, it's mechanical. These are adjustable knobs, and your nervous system doesn't move one knob at a time. It moves them in coordinated sets. That's why two emotions can feel similar, because they share most of the same settings. Excitement and fear can both raise heart rate. Awe and dread can both tighten the chest. Embarrassment and threat can both heat the face. Same hardware, different context label, and Goosebumps belong to that same hardware layer. They're one of the only outputs that leaks onto the surface. You can hide your thoughts, you can lie with your words, but you can't negotiate with 10,000 tiny muscles in your skin. If the system shifts, your skin shows it. That's why Goosebumps are so useful for understanding emotion, because they reveal the order of operations. State first, story second. And there's a reason the order is built that way. Your nervous system has layers, a fast layer that can't afford nuance, and a slow layer that builds meaning. The fast layer lives below language, brainstem, hypothalamus, autonomic control centers. Its job is simple: detect change and shift the organism's state. It doesn't care what the event means, it cares whether the system should become more ready. And it can do that without asking your conscious mind for permission. The slower layer, the one you experience as me, comes afterward. It builds the explanation. It looks at the body state, looks at the context, and decides what story fits. Fear, awe, embarrassment, excitement. Same body hardware, different narrative on top. That's why the body can react correctly before you understand why. You can start to mobilize before you know what happened, because the organism is designed to shift first and explain second. Goosebumps are just one of the rare places you can watch that design in real time, a visible marker that the fast layer already made its move, and the slow layer is about to tell you what that move was. Now, there's one last piece people miss. They treat the nervous system like it's responding to reality, but it's not. It's responding to your best guess about reality, and it has to guess fast, because you don't have time to analyze everything consciously. So your body runs a set of fast systems that do one job: detect significance, tag it, then change the organism's state. And that state change is what you later experience as emotion, which means emotion isn't the starting gun, it's the scoreboard. It's what consciousness sees after the race already began. So let's bring this together. You asked, what's between emotion and Goosebumps? Here's the complete answer. First, a pattern enters your system: a cold gust, a sudden sound, a voice, a chord change, a moment of meaning. Second, your nervous system detects salience, not good or bad, just important. Third, that detection roots into the autonomic system. Fourth, the sympathetic branch shifts your body state: breath, heart, blood flow, muscle readiness, skin output. Fifth, nerves in the skin release chemical commands: norepinephrine. Sixth, tiny muscles attached to hair follicles contract. Erector pili, your skin puckers, hair rises, goosebumps. And then your mind arrives to narrate it. It tries to make sense of the state shift. It calls it awe, or fear, or intensity, or beauty, but that label is downstream. A report, not a command. That's the world model, and it's not comforting, because it implies something simple and unsettling. Your body is not waiting for your awareness. Your awareness is arriving late to what your body already started. When Goosebumps rise, the order is already set. Detection first, body second, words last. You don't generate the reaction, you become aware of it. Emotion isn't something you feel, it's something your body does. Awareness comes last, not comfort, truth.